Can we just talk about how Dan Harmon is anime for autistic people?
By the crack of the bell!
Which I acknowledge is like saying dinosaurs are the trains of autistic people, or like rainbows are the colors of visually perceptive people. But before you click off this video, hear me out for like 2 minutes. So I'm not talking about Dan Harmon's writing, which even when it tries to be anime, misses the mark so hard.
What your grandpa did is called appropriation! Not cool! Ah!
I'm talking about Dan Harmon as a person. Like, when he's talking. In episode 157 of Harmontown, Dan pisses himself live on stage.
I'm pissing right now. I'm pissing right now. I'm pissing my pants. I'm fully pissing my pants.
That had nothing to do with my point, just wanted to mention that. In episode 257, Dan is unwillingly locked into combat with his own mind by his supposed best friends. Dan specifically expresses difficulty in telling traditionally structured jokes and confides in that with the audience as well as his friends.
I don't know how to tell jokes. Like, what? I don't know.
But then his two friends give him the suggestion of making not one, not two, but 5 traditionally structured jokes on the spot. You ever notice how people do that, like, not one, not two thing? Like, I get that you're trying to emphasize the bigness of the number, but you can just say the number and let it be big. You don't have to put it next to smaller numbers to make it seem bigger than what it is. Just say the number. So on top of now having to come up with not one, not two, but traditionally structured jokes to a live audience, but Rob also assigns him the incredibly arbitrary restriction that the jokes have to be shoe related.
How about a joke? Here, let me give you a subject. Shoes. Go. Dan, come on. Top 5, Dan Harmon, best shoe jokes.
So I've explored some joke theory in one of my past videos, but just to demonstrate the difficulty of this, I am now going to try and come up with one traditionally structured joke based off of a prompt generated randomly right now. Random prompt generator. I cannot stress to you how unscripted this is. I literally do not know how this is going to turn out. My word is month. Why are months like cheese? It's not easy. Let me try another one.
I can't, my brain goes like, all right, man, that's enough. There's no humans are supposed to be doing this.
So yeah, it's probably really hard. Yeah, it's hard. It's not easy to make up a funny, traditionally structured joke on the spot with a random prompt added to it. But earlier in the episode, Dan laments about his insecurities related to his appearance.
Shit, fuck, god damn it, I look like this.
Specifically his mutton chops, and you can see him being more vulnerable and defensive than usual.
Guys, don't correct me on this. It's like a slimming thing for a fat face. No, it's not. Fuck you. Just come on.
And when the call to action arises, a chance to prove his worth in the only way he knows how, validation from others, he answers the call. What follows is 10 minutes of Jeff and Rob buying Dan time to think of shoe jokes by riffing this bit that it's a television broadcast called Dan Harmon's Top 5 Shoe Jokes with many lengthy ad breaks.
Brought to you by Nestle Quick. If you're listening to shoe jokes and you got a sweet tooth, mix yourself up a cup of Nestle Quick.
You can see his brain working so hard, the gear spinning faster and faster. Some shoe jokes land better than others. Dan's face is often anguished and expressing mental exhaustion. Okay, that's definitely my face when I pour the orange juice. That's my face. Me when I pour the orange juice. Me when I shake the orange juice around. Cut to the second last shoe joke, which Dan delivers, which is in my opinion the best shoe joke of all time. I challenge any one of you to come up with a better shoe joke.
Why do shoes come in pairs? They like to converse.
Oh my God.
At this point, Dan has proven himself. He's crossed the threshold of telling awkwardly worded, traditionally structured jokes, met with the goddess of shoes, adapted to his new environment, and came back changed, ultimately for the better. Because now he's practiced telling traditionally structured jokes and he's made a good one. But his friends don't let him get off that easy. They both build up the anticipation of the final joke, playing the role of the network executives or showrunners or something.
Oh my God,
Gary, we got a solid gold fucking hit on our hands here.
we just pulled a million share. All he has to do is one more joke.
Because they like to converse.
It's gotta be the best joke of the night!
This is cruel and hilarious, but you can see the awkward position that Dan's now put in. And in a nail-biting sequence, he actually kind of nails it.
Here we go. In 5, 4, 3.
What do shoes and tarps have in common? Under specific circumstances, they are covering corns.
You can see in his face as he genuinely braces for the crowd's reaction, but is actually received quite well. Happy ending, right? Wrong. While Rob and Jeff, as the network executives, are about to deliberate the reception of the fake show, Dan interrupts them to reveal something dramatic.
I need to talk to you guys.
Yes?
Before
Both
the
of us?
reviews come in.
Okay.
A tarp can cover anything. I cheated. It's not a good joke. It sounded like one. A tarp can cover anything.
According to Dan, the joke wasn't comedically organic, and even though the crowd laughed, Dan doesn't think that that counts and that he cheated. Although I personally think in all aspects the joke is completely acceptable, it doesn't matter from Dan's perspective. He wasn't the medium for genius, like the Converse joke. He was just following logical steps.
I started with corn. I worked backwards. I panicked.
And to him, that doesn't prove to anyone that he has any comedic value whatsoever. A twist ending, to be sure, but ultimately comedically satisfying. So, happy ending, right? Wrong!
The network loves it so much. We're going live for 5 more shoe jokes.
Oh my God!
Yes, Jeff prompts Dan to do another 5 shoe jokes. This was the moment that I realized I wasn't watching Dan Harmon perform improv. I was watching a fucking shonen tournament arc.
Tournament talk! Tournament talk! It's a fucking tournament talk! Tournament talk!
And so begins another 10 minutes of not 1, not 2. I don't have to do the maths for you, but in my opinion, this is more shoe jokes than there need to be. This is more shoe jokes than there need to be in existence, probably. You can really feel the mental fatigue Dan is going through at this point as the gears keep churning to try and find more shoe-related punchlines.
What do Malcolm McDowell's boots say? Welly, 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 well. That was a line from Clockwork Orange. And that's also a brand of boot. Oh boy.
Another swing and a miss. But just like that, he uses the same format, but hits it out of the park.
What does what does boot say
What?
after Ugg?
We got him back. We got him back.
It's fucking beautiful. This is why normies watch sports, and why nerds watch sports anime, and why I watch this and Scooby-Doo movies. Scooby-Doo Where's My Mummy is a 2005 American animated film directed and produced by Joe Sitcha. As in, Sitcha asked Dan, will I explain to you why Scooby-Doo Where's My Mummy 2005 is the best Scooby-Doo movie of all time? And Jeff asks a simple question that exponentially increases the stakes of this entire ordeal.
We need is one more, Dan. One more. Do you want to go to commercial? You got this.
Now, I don't know how consciously aware Jeff was of this labyrinthian mind prison of a question he asked, because it's not even a question. It's an invitation to play in hard mode. Obviously, Dan isn't going to refuse the call to action. We've already established him as our hero who has to overcome great odds and emerge victorious for the narrative of the show to be satisfying.
We could go to commercial. You don't have to do that. You don't have to be a hero, Dan.
But the commercials were an imperative part of his process thus far, buying him ample time to come up with the jokes. But Jeff just took that away from Dan, who we now get to watch in a mind-melting sequence perform real-time improv, telling a joke word for painful word. The weight of each word is felt so immensely, as it's clear he doesn't have a joke in mind, but needs to say one word right now. There's added weight as each word locks him into a centaurial trajectory. I made up that word. Centaurially it's not a thing.
You don't have to do that. You don't have to be a hero, Dan.
Why are your shoes like society?
Once a word has been spoken, he has to say another word that makes context according to the previous word. You know, like how a sentence works? Yeah, like that, but it has to be a traditionally structured joke. You saw me try do it just now. It's like freestyle rapping, but for improvised shoe jokes. Now, to properly demonstrate the emotional climax of this, I have to spoil the ending of Summer Wars. It's an amazing movie directed by Mamoru Hosoda, and if you haven't seen it, I suggest you go do that so now before I spoil it for you. Or not. I'm just some weirdo on the internet. You don't have to listen to me. So in Summer Wars, we follow Kenji Koiso, a high school math whiz and part-time moderator for this movie's equivalent of Google, pretty much. Kenji inadvertently hacks Google's systems, allowing a rogue AI called Love Machine to wreak havoc by causing widespread chaos. This happens when Kenji is sent a complex maths problem to solve. It takes all night to do, and his submission is used to hack into Google. The initial climax of this film involves Kenji and the family winning everyone's hacked accounts back. But just like the other 5 shoe jokes, there's a secondary climax. The last hacked accounts that Love Machine has access to have control over a plummeting satellite, which it uses to aim towards the house of the family gathering. In order to change the trajectory of the satellite, Kenji has to solve another complex maths problem similar to the one he received earlier. But every time he solves it, Love Handle keeps locking him out again, requiring him to re-solve a new problem. This ends in the penultimate climax, where Kenji, who thus far has been writing out the equations on sheets of paper with limited time remaining, solves the equation in his head and types the password in one painful keystroke at a time, mirroring the emotional gravitas of the shoe joke climax.
Do you want to go to commercial? You got this.
Why?
We could go to commercial. You don't have to do that. You don't have to be a hero, Dan.
Why are your shoes like society? They protect you. They protect you while imprisoning you.
And so in a very anime way, both heroes defeat their final foes. Kenji reroutes the satellite to narrowly avoid hitting the house, while Dan doesn't tell a joke, but he does say something vaguely profound, which is enough to get the approval of the audience. To ultimately stumble into something comedic from nothing takes a lot of luck and a lot of skill and practice, and we see that paying off when Dan stumbles into it, leaving Dan's self-esteem re-intact, his value proven, and his hero's journey full circle. Happy ending, right? No. Wrong. No.
The head of the network, the guy that pays all of our bills, a man that could crush any one of us,
Yeah.
saw your crazy shoe Vietnam rant.
Your shitty attitude.
Loved it so much, he wants 5 more live right now.
I was joking earlier when I said Dan's only way to feel valued was from getting validation from others, but I do want to talk more about that concept real quickly, because I know I certainly have some validation-seeking behaviors. Go listen to my music and tell me you like it. Positive comments only. Link in the fucking thing. So it seems to me that there's a difference between healthy and unhealthy validation-seeking behaviors. And ultimately, the difference is determined by the behavior's origin. It's very human to want to feel heard and seen while having a conversation with someone. It's healthy to validate each other's emotional experiences in life or whatever. But if you feel insecure, that you lack value, that you're worthless, and you try to seek validation from other people to compensate for that lack of value you feel, then that's pretty unhealthy. But in the shoe joke episode of Harmontown, Dan touches on something that I think can really help us get out of that position if we find ourselves in there. He calls it neuroplasticity. It's basically the stuff Dr. K preaches all the time, cultivating an awareness so that you can catch your thoughts in the midst of negativity and then change their trajectory real time.
You can just reroute your brain. Like you can go to any point as long as you start being aware of what you're doing. Then you go to these points in your brain, and then you don't have to do anything. But you walk where you want to go, and then you leave this little footpath, and the person follows you. And it's like, roads start as like footpaths and trails and things, and it's a path of least resistance. It's like a drop just takes a a kind of semi-shortest route to a destination. So if you go back to a point in your neurology by being aware, you don't have to try anything. You don't have to be like, oh, I'm going to be different. You can just go, okay, I'm going to be aware of every thought that I have. And then there's certain thoughts that have this straight fucking paved freeway to Rome, which you think is the only choice you have, to the point where you don't even realize this is a place you can stop. So you practice stopping. See, I did it.
Negative thoughts can be automatic, and if we don't consciously be aware of them, we can't change them. It's a lot of hard work, and I know I'm putting in a lot of that work right now, but just like improv, I believe you can train yourself to think differently if you cultivate the right awareness. The next time you find yourself having a negative thought, try to notice it and say to yourself, oh look, I'm having a negative thought. You don't have to buy into it. You don't have to believe the thought, or you can if you want, but just notice it. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. Go cultivate awareness. Go soul searching. Get it? Soul searching? Is this thing on?